What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Marvel Roundtable. On this week's edition, we are back into Disney Plus, and it is holiday season as we follow our favorite bow and arrow avenger as we explore the origins, or rather the complicated backstory of Ronan and Clint Barton, but also embracing the future with Kate Bishop as we take a look at the Disney Plus show Hawkeye on this week's edition of the Marvel Roundtable. What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Marvel Roundtable right here on the Horny Goat YouTube channel and, of course, the Horny Goat Podcast Network, where you can listen to us on all your favorite podcasting platforms. It, of course, is the Marvel Roundtable, where we deep dive into every single movie and Disney Plus show that is part of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Of course, this installment, as you heard from the top of the program, we are talking about Hawkeye, which is going to be one that I'm personally looking forward to, and I know it's been a hot minute since it's been about almost a month since we reviewed Eternals, so we're definitely getting back in the swing of things here on the Roundtable. But of course, I am not alone. I am Mr. Marvel 613, joined here by my wonderful colleagues of the Horny Goat crew. I got with me the tattooed mama herself, Heather, and of course, everyone's favorite bear from upstairs, Canadian Basement. What's up, fam?
Nothing much. Wendy's singing out there for some reason.
The start of a horror movie.
Perfect way to kick off this Marvel Roundtable. It's been a while. Obviously, we've had a lot of things going crazy with us in terms of just scheduling and stuff. I was just absolutely fucking exhausted yesterday, which is why I wasn't able to just get I was like, all right, we're gonna do Hawkeye. We're gonna do Hawkeye. And then, like, we got closer to time, like, I'm not gonna make
Battery system low.
Like Jeremy Renner's face every now and then.
Oh, trust me, we'll get there. Of course, if you guys want to join the conversation, join us live here on the YouTube channel, youtube.com/hornygoat, or, of course, listen to us on your favorite podcast platform, like I mentioned before, and leave a comment. We will be trying to read some of your guys' thoughts and feedbacks as we proceed through this Disney Plus show. So, once again, we're back to Disney Plus. It is a 6-episode premiere of Hawkeye, which, I'll be honest, this one... going into it, when obviously Disney and Marvel announced all these, like, new Disney Plus shows, there was obviously some that were more interesting than others. Hawkeye, there really wasn't a whole lot of, like, hype going into it. There wasn't really much, like, excitement other than the fact that we were probably going to get Kate Bishop, who in the comics is basically the protege and the next person to take up the Hawkeye mantle. But we're going to break down all of it, of course, here on this review, and I guess we'll start things off with the general consensus of between. I'll start with, of course, Heather and Basement. Without going into too much spoilers, overall thoughts on the Hawkeye series now that it's been like a month since we watched it.
Not me.
Yeah.
Basement's the smart one. He waits until like 1 or 2 days before the show, and then he watches the shows.
I did actually finish one show.
Yeah, I was gonna say, wasn't there one where like, I just finished this right like 30 minutes before we hopped on?
Yeah.
But it's so good.
For me, this show was, I think I fucked my shoulder up moving that bookcase today. This show was one of the better shows that they have put on for me. There are some things, especially towards the end, that are just like, how? But overall, I still enjoyed it.
I'm kind of in the same boat with you on that one, Heather. But Basement, since you just finished this 2 seconds ago, what did you think of? What did you think of overall? Your thoughts on Hawkeye?
It does have certain problems. Overall, though, I found it enjoyable. I do think I agree, and we'll get into it. But like, I felt the show not great at the beginning. The middle of the show is incredible, and then the ending is kind of better than the beginning. I'll give it that. But it's still like it's a good show. It's a fun show.
I get where you're both coming from in terms of like if you're looking at this like a show, it's a little like it's a really fucked up way to say this, but yes, if you're looking at it as a show, like episode to episode, it's a bit rough in the sense of like the flow is a little bit off. It's not as smooth as others or other shows that have been out there, even like non-Marvel ones. To me, though, this is what I thought the Disney Plus shows were going to be, in the sense of not heavy, but enough stuff there that like you could, that you got something out of it. You know what I mean? Like it wasn't like I mean, Jesus, you look at some of the other shows that we've had so far, you know, in Disney Plus. We've had WandaVision. That's a fucking therapist session waiting to happen. You had Falcon and Winter Soldier, which had a lot of political drama, but you also had a fucking new Captain America. You had 2 new Captain Americas at the end of the whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
Loki, we've already talked about Loki. So this was definitely a lot more subdued compared to the other Disney Plus counterparts. And to me, when they were announcing, oh, this is the concept of... we're introducing these Disney Plus shows to complement the movies. Hawkeye, to me, kind of fit in my mind what I thought the shows were going to be like in terms of.
I agree.
You know what I mean? Like they were just enough to keep you interested. They weren't like over the top crazy, but it had enough like elements to it that's like, yeah, it was very. I wouldn't say middle of the road, maybe a little bit better than middle of the road, but definitely not like, oh my God, you have to see Hawkeye. No disrespect to Jeremy Renner there or any of his wonderful shots that he has.
Well, I feel like with the idea of Disney Plus doing shows and characters that don't get enough screen time on the big screen and need that development, the idea for Hawkeye, and I really think Black Widow should have been a show too. The idea would be essentially to give them more. They kind of do it, but they kind of fail at it as well.
Yeah,
it follows that trope again, where Disney just seems to use the old guard to introduce the new guard. Again, it's a Hawkeye, but it's not really. It's
Hawkeye.
More Kate Bishop's show than it is Hawkeye's.
It is. I mean, I didn't
mind it that much in this one.
Yeah.
In this one, it pissed me off a lot more in Loki.
Yes.
Because she was boring as shit. Kate Bishop is actually a more interesting character. Where
With
female
this one,
Loki was just not for me.
Right. If they had just changed the title to Hawkeye's Apprentice, it would have made it so much more different.
Yeah, I'm more forgiving of this one than most of the other ones that have done it, to be honest.
Well, it's funny because they never really call him Hawkeye up until this
No,
point.
it's always
right?
Clint.
Yeah, right. Yeah, so it's one of those like inside, like, we're never gonna really call him Hawkeye, but no, I still thought it was fun. I still thought it was like a very like it's definitely not the best Disney Plus show they've done by any stretch of the imagination, but I'll damn say it's definitely not the fucking worst one they've done either. So, but man, I got a horrible cough. But we'll get there.
I can't wait for that one.
Yeah, I think we all can.
The one blessing is that show is like 10 minutes long.
Yeah.
Oh,
with a 40-minute runtime.
Yeah. We'll get there.
For some reason.
Shout out to, of course, our good friend Tim, and happy belated to Alpha joining us in the chat. What's up, Alpha? Hope your birthday went as well as it could possibly be. So cheers to you, my friend. So we're gonna get into the thick of things with Hawkeye and talk about it. Of course, we are getting really, really close to catching up with Marvel shit, which is a little scary. It is a little intimidating, the fact that we started this roundtable discussion at the beginning of 2022, and if our math is right, by the time we reach the end of Phase 4, we'll have been caught up, which is just fucking absurd to me. But I more applaud my friends for sticking up with me and me dragging them through every single Marvel property. And I know you're like, oh no, it's fun. I'll ask that again when we get to She-Hulk. So with that being
It's fun
said,
for a completely different reason.
Yeah. Real quick, there's not much as far as the pre-production side. They did announce, obviously, back in September of 2018 that Marvel's Studios was developing several limited-time series for its parent company, Disney streaming service Disney Plus, to be centered on second-tier characters from the MCU who would not and were unlikely to star in their own films, kind of like exactly what Basement said earlier. By April of the next year, development of an adventure series starring Jeremy Renner as his MCU film character Clint Barton had begun. The plot was expected to follow Barton as he bequeaths the mantle of Hawkeye onto Kate Bishop's. However, Kevin Feige was set to produce the limited series. Renner had originally signed on to star in a standalone feature film focused on his character, but agreed to star in the series instead after Feige decided to redevelop the project for Disney+. The executive producer explained that the 6-hour series gave Marvel more room to explore Barton's backstory, introduce Kate Bishop, and develop dynamic between the two characters that appeal to fans of the comics, all of which would have been restricted by a two-hour film runtime. Feige officially announced Hawkeye, of course, at San Diego Comic-Con in July later on. I 100% agree with everything about that. I think that given what we get and given, like I said, this show to me was, and in some cases still is, a great standard of if you're gonna do this, this is the way you should do it, especially with the second tier characters like Hawkeye or whatever. I have nothing to disagree with that. I think that was a smart move because I don't think Look, I like Jeremy Renner. I think this is
some angles.
Listen, we talked about this. I think him. I think them doing the series far better than doing a movie of Hawkeye.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely, definitely. I mean, there is a lot they could have done with the Hawkeye character in movie form, but at the same time, it wasn't needed.
Yeah.
It really wasn't needed. It's just a short TV series is all that was needed to finish Hawkeye's story, essentially, because it's after Black Widow, and it's him coping with it.
Mm-hmm.
So it's perfect, really.
There's enough elements in there that you can interweave between Kate Bishop developing into her own, him dealing with the Ronin shit, him dealing with Natasha. There's enough elements to it that keeps it going, to me anyway, well enough. I'm not saying it's perfect. We'll get there. But there was enough of it that there's enough of it that had me interested just to ride them out. It was just the right amount of time.
I'm gonna say all of the side plots were interesting enough. In some cases, more interesting than the main plot, which I'm pretty sure there was it felt like a bunch of side plots the whole show, which is fine because most of them were done pretty well. There's so much good about the show that I kind of hate dogging on it, but I have to in some cases, especially with the main plot. That to me was the weakest part of the show, which is it somehow did not destroy the show.
No. But, there really wasn't much other in terms of the pre-production stuff. So that being said, let's get into this. I have a feeling this is going to be another short review because these episodes do kind of blow by quick. And there's only 6 episodes. But let's get into it. We'll start off with episode 1, which is known as Never Meet Your Heroes, which, by the way, just for the record, I never really went into this too deep into other of the Disney Plus shows. Sometimes the Disney Plus episodes of the names of the episodes are kind of meh. Some of them are fucking fantastic. And I think this is one of the series that really did a good job with the names of the episodes. But in any case, so episode 1, I'll barrel through the synopsis real fast. During the Battle of New York in 2012, a young Kate Bishop is saved from a Chitauri warrior by Clint Barton. Ain't that convenient? But her father, Derek, is killed in the chaos. Great way to kick off a great story. I love how all that happened, by the way.
The actor that was her father.
Oh, God, yeah, I wanted to punch him in the throat. Following Derek's funeral, Bishop vows to become a hero to keep her and her mother, Eleanor, safe. In the present day, Bishop has become an experienced archer, martial artist, and fencer. One incident at her college had her trying to use an arrow to ring a bell in her college clock's tower, caused it to collapse as she get caught by campus security. Why do I feel like that's going to be something that Wendy does in the future? She later visits Eleanor for Christmas, where she had to punish Bishop by deactivating her credit cards until further notice while persuading the college's dean not to expel her. In addition, Bishop discovers her engagement to Jack Duquesne. At a charity auction gala, Bishop becomes suspicious of Duquesne and his uncle Armand III, because those don't sound like suspicious names, following them into a secret black market auction featuring items recovered from the wreckage of the Avengers compound, where they both bid on a sword belonging to the brutal vigilante Ronin. Suddenly, a group of masked thugs known as the Tracksuit Mafia breaks into the auction and takes the attendees hostage in search of a mysterious watch. Jack uses the chaos to steal the sword, while Kate dons the Ronin attire and takes down the thugs, freeing the hostage and saving the one-eyed stray dog in the process. Best character of the whole fucking show. Fight me on that.
Yeah.
Taking him home with her. Meanwhile, Barton is struggling to come to terms with his deeds done as Ronin and the death of Natasha Romanoff. He enjoys his night out with his children and later sees Kate in the Ronin attire on the news. Bishop tracks down Armand to investigate him, only to find him dead in his office. She flees the murder scene but is ambushed by the tracksuits and saved by Barton, who confronts her. Love the setup. I'm just throwing that, like, the setup is like all sorts of fucking chaos, but like this feels like I mean this in the best way possible. I really do. I'm not trying to shit on this episode of this series.
It's a terrible movie or something.
No. Did either of you watch Batman the Animated Series?
No, I
watched
have
a little
not.
bit of it. I didn't. Not
Okay.
all of it.
There were A plots and there were B plots. This feels like a B plot. Like this feels like we don't have any of the high end villains. We're gonna use like the Mad Hatter. That's what this felt like. Not in a bad way though. I mean, it was simple, straight to the point, and I mean, so far so good.
Okay, I would almost say too simple. But like a big problem with this show in general is it doesn't really take any risks at all. By not taking risks, it'll never be terrible,
Right.
but it's very like paint by numbers. Like they paint out this guy to be the bad guy, and as soon as like I know that all signs point to him, he's not going to be the one.
Yeah.
It's very like telegraphed in almost everything it does.
Yep.
And then they start talking about the Ronin costume and shit, and it's, she's gonna end up with it in some way. The casting is incredible in these things, man. Because I have to say, like, Seinfeld is her name. Haley Seinfeld is Kate Bishop, right?
Oh, you mean Clara? Oh no, that's the young one.
I think that's her name.
No. Clara Stack is young Kate Bishop. Haley Steinfeld is what you're talking about. Yeah.
Yeah. So she does a really good job, but again, she's that prototype, wise cracking, balls to the
character.
walls, no
Marvel
fear, Marvel character. I like okay, the people that got to play her mom and then Jack, it's like those two people I've seen in other shows that were fucking incredibly well, and the other roles that they had, so I knew it was going to be acted well. But I don't know, it just doesn't. I don't feel like they got enough to kind of play the roles that they were given. Everything just feels like not real enough for me.
Well, I mean, you have to, and this is kind of something I wanted to bring up too, is that like, again, it goes back to like, I know we've talked about this before, even when I was developing the concept of the Roundtable, that like Phase 4, and this was a common problem until Daddy Feige showed us the path, that Phase 4 felt like all over the fucking place. And if you really think about it, right, up until this point for Phase 4, just remember what we've seen so far, right? We've seen, just to recap, WandaVision, Falcon and Winter Soldier, Loki, What If, Black Widow, Shang-Chi, and Eternals. Shit's been all over the place, man. They have been all over the place in terms of like where the story's going. You don't really know. There's been everything from the extremes of multiversal wars to a ancient martial artist to fucking super spies. So it's all over the place. And it's kind of one of the things I feel like is kind of against this show is just its placement in terms of where it was introduced. If you introduced this show immediately after Black Widow, I think this would have been received a lot better.
It's more, but it's kind of like, would you want more of the same, or do you want more like up and down of, hey, we're gonna have this street level thing, and then we're gonna have like planetary devastation. And then we're gonna have like a street level.
That's what it's.
I don't know if it would. I don't know if. Yeah, I don't know if that works. It might work better, because I feel like watching similar things in a row kind of like
waters down.
Then you're like, yeah, it kind of gets bogged down in its own mess. I mean, that being said, I think the first episode was okay. I had to laugh. I don't know if it happens in this one, but I think it does, where she puts on the fucking Ronin outfit and literally looks like she's running around in a garbage bag. Like, like she looks fine later on when she has her own costume on, but in this, oh my god, she's like running, and I'm like, you could tell she is not an athlete, even though she's supposed to be like the most athletic person alive.
So I was gonna throw that out to both of you guys. I'll throw it to Heather first this time. But like, you know how sometimes we've talked about this before numerous times on the roundtable, where it's like plot convenience of this character being able to do X, Y, and Z or whatever. Do you feel like Kate Bishop is sometimes portrayed as like as that in this show, where it's like, oh, I just happen to be a world-renowned archer or world-renowned martial artist, or do you think it's more believable because it's tied in with Hawkeye or the street tier level? You know what I mean?
I think it's a little bit more believable because of the fact that later on we do see in her room with her mom at her mom's house that she has these awards for all of those competitions while she was growing up. So it's like, okay, she literally has been training for this her whole life.
Yep.
However, when they throw her in the Ronin suit and she's running down the street trying to get away from the bro, moving bro, guys.
That's how we talk.
Yeah, it's
she looks more like her bumbling and stumbling character from Pitch Perfect.
I actually like the dynamic though. I know Baseman said it earlier too about like, oh, I was poking fun. It's like, oh, the quick witty, like it's a Marvel character. Yeah, they make wisecrack. Yeah, a Marvel character. Yeah, they make jokes and inappropriate. A Marvel character. But I think that it works better with Clint because Clint was almost always the straight guy. Like if you think about it, like if you think really about like, Clint Barton's character in the MCU, he was never really heavily featured or focused. He was just part of the team. And he was kind of in the background being like the straight man. So I think that if you did Kate Bishop's character or the Marvel character with anybody else, it would feel like, Jesus Christ, this fucking shit again. But with Clint, it works. I think that's the only character I can think of that would work very well with. Maybe that's just me.
No, I think you're right.
Like that with her because of the fact that he is grieving and trying to leave all of that behind and be with his family. So,
well, this is why you see in like Captain America or Falcon and the Winter Soldier, they had to change aspects of those characters to make that kind of dynamic exist. Because they both became a little more wisecracking or whatever than their characters used to be, right? Just to fill that gap, because you need like the dichotomy between like a straight-laced. I mean, look at the Lethal Weapon, okay? You need if Buddy Cop to be like two different people that have different like characteristics and different like comedic value.
Yep.
Or else the show would just get boring. This is why I actually think I've said it before, like it would be a good idea to do Hawkeye and Black Widow in like a show. When I'm saying that, I mean like Hawkeye being in like an episode or two of Black Widow if it was a show. Strictly them together would get boring very fast because they're both the same fucking character.
Yeah.
But no, it's good in this one, and I have to say, something that elevates this show drastically is the Christmas theme.
Yes.
That's a good point. It's funny. There's really only a handful of any of the Marvel movies that actually like take advantage of or really put heavy focus on the time of year that it's taking place on. This one, the next one we're gonna do, and I think Iron Man 3 was really the only ones that kind of put focus on like the holiday season being relevant to the plot. I mean, granted, it's not like they were relevant to the plot, but they were focuses enough that it's a footnote that you paid attention to when it came to those.
I think it's actually relative to the plot in this one, because a lot of
this one it is.
Oh, okay, yeah. A lot of the plot is centered around like family or getting back to family, or what you lack with family or what you want with family, and then even the fucking soundtrack is like Christmas music is
Yeah.
modified. It works really well for the show. Like honestly, like it elevates the show a point and a half for me.
It goes back to the whole, like, it feels like a really good Christmas special, like a really fucking
It
good
feels
one.
like so many times I'm like, this is almost Jingle All the Way.
Yeah.
Hey, you never fuck with a classic like Jingle All the Way, all right?
I love Jingle All the Way.
Don't fuck with. They did a fucking parcel bomb in that movie. So don't.
That
fuck with
movie
that.
is like almost a horror movie. It's set at Christmas.
Someone
Everybody's terrible in it. Everybody.
Someone did a review of it, and they're like, "Did anybody else forget that there's a parcel bomb in Jingle All the Way?"
Everybody's a fucking monster in
Oh,
that
God,
movie.
it's fucking. It's great.
But no, the Christmas theme definitely helps.
Yeah.
First episode, I was like, okay. And then I think some of the things that hurt me, like I said before, some of the actors I've seen in content that's better in terms of what it allows its actors to do than what I'm seeing them. And that kind of hurt it for me because I'm like, oh, these people seem like they're like strapped to a desk working for fucking 10 cents a day.
I'm trying to remember.
Like all their creativity's been taken away.
Who played the mom? Who played
Vera Farmiga, I think her name is.
Yeah, where have I seen her before? I know she's
In literally anything and everything.
Yeah, no shit.
Oh yeah.
I know.
I watched. She was in Bates Motel, which I see. I
Oh,
remember her
God.
from that. She was the bad mom.
Well, speaking of Bad Mom, let's move on to the second episode entitled Hide and Seek. So this one's a little bit of a shorter in terms of the synopsis, so we'll be going through too much of it. After encountering Kate Bishop in an alley, Clint Barton is taken to her apartment before they are shortly attacked by the tracksuit mafia, who set fire to the place. The pair are forced to evacuate, leaving the Ronin suit behind. After relocating to Bishop's vacationing aunt's apartment, Barton sends his children back home, but promises to return by Christmas Day. Barton escorts Bishop to her workplace and then recovers the Ronin suit at a LARPing event from a firefighter named Grills. Later, Bishop fails to convince Eleanor Bishop of Jack Duquesne's involvement in his uncle Armand's Duquesne's death. But after challenging Duquesne to a fencing duel, she tries to contact Barton, but learns that Barton knowingly allowed himself to be captured by the tracksuit mafia. She tracks down Barton's location, but ends up being captured herself. The gang informs their leader, Maya Lopez, of Barton and Bishop's captivity. So there's a lot to take apart here, and a couple things I wanted to note, just to throw this out there right off the bat, was the idea that he's trying to destroy the Ronin suit. You know, we'll talk about this more when we get to the other episodes, but the idea of him like coming to terms with / forgiving himself / getting over what he did as Ronin was just enough of an arc I needed for Hawkeye to have. Like, it was just the right amount. The fencing duel was fun. I do remember that part very vividly. Who doesn't love the tracksuit mafia? I mean, they are fucking so stupid, aren't they?
I do not love them.
You're who we're looking for.
They are too stupid. Like for where the plot goes with them, it's a huge plot hole for me. That they are like unbelievably dumb.
And it is very comic accurate too, because they are that stupid.
I'm okay with them being like dumb, but it's like beyond dumb
it's like
at sometimes.
It's almost
it's a bit. Like this show kind of. It should like it works, but like I said, the Christmas fucking element allows it to get away with some of the fucking weird shit that it does.
Yep.
It allows the goofiness to happen a bit better. We didn't mention too from episode 1. What do you think of Rogers the musical?
Oh my God!
I want a live.
I could do this all day.
I don't give a shit. I want a live version. By the way, I don't know if you know this, but when they were doing the Comic-Con, it was either Comic-Con or D23. I'm almost certain it was Comic-Con. They did no, actually I think it was D23. They did have, when Marvel Studios took the center stage, they did have performers performing the musical or the song from the Roger. Yep. Yeah, Heather. Yep, that actually happened.
I'm glad I did not watch it.
I absolutely love the fact that at the beginning of that episode too, he's like, "Dad, you're missing out." He's like, "First off, fuck you, I was there. Second of all, he wasn't," pointing to Ant-Man. I want a full version of Rogers the musical.
I really like the inclusion of it at the beginning because like it's something it's so ridiculous. It would happen.
Yeah.
Oh, for sure it
It
would.
100% would
in
happen.
New York.
So like that was one thing that was great. The tracksuit mafia, not for like I'm not against the idea of them being something, but it just gets to the point where I'm like, oh god. And also they like take up so much fucking screen time in the show.
Yeah, they do. They do. But what about LARPing? Good old. You can never have a bad show when there's LARPing involved, right?
Like I'm telling you, the second episode, I was like, man, I don't know about this one. It was starting to like turn into badness for me.
It- it's bad enough that, yes, LARPing can be fun, but then you have people who are actually civil servants, such as police officers, firemen, EMTs, that are the ones that are running the whole fucking shebang.
Which I felt was very weird because, and this is me stereotyping for the record, I would personally think that anybody who is in the line of emergency services, such as life-threatening or light, you know what I mean, like EMT, I would think that they would want to get as far away from anything remotely close to that as humanly possible when it comes to their downtime. You know what I mean? Maybe that's just me.
Makes a lot of sense. And the thing that pissed me off the most was that it's like they're live action role playing a fucking Viking invasion, and this guy shows up dressed like a ninja, and just like, okay, go in. Like, why was anybody like he's given fucking Viking costume to wear when he shows up, which just wouldn't be a thing. Like, what the fuck? Why? I just don't get it. Why he's allowed to dress up as a fucking ninja and go in there? He's already in there fighting or doing.
Because you can't see him.
Whatever. No, you can see him all right. This is a part of this like this is like this is 100% filler. Like I have to go get my costume. Yeah. Where is it? But I mean,
it's in the middle of the fucking forest.
Like I fucking highly doubt any of these people, like the whole cop angle or them being like part of like that is just ridiculous because it happens later on where they're also like serving cocktails.
They're too stupid. They're too stupid. And when we get to that point, I will sit there and say it. What I'm bursting to say. This is just it's one of the scenes in the upcoming episodes where that's where I just go, but how?
It feels like a Tom and Jerry episode.
Yeah, there's a boatload of Looney Tunes shit that happens in this show that infuriates me to no end.
Well, it's funny because to me sometimes it works and it works extremely well, and then sometimes it's like, how hot can I make this fork before I stab it in my eye? Like it is crazy, like how. And that's just the weird thing about this show for me personally, is that the tone of the show, for the most part, doesn't really change. But for some reason, certain moments at times, it works amazing in its favor. And then other times it's like, oh my God, can I get another root canal? It's so... I've never seen a show or anything like that before where it does that. I don't know about you guys, but I was just like, what? I've never seen anything like that before when it comes to this.
It's from like, I guess like lower level like goof to like low level comedy to like super goof. It never really like there's a couple of scenes that are supposed to be like, and this is why like there's a couple of scenes that are like hard hitting emotionally, and they don't work really that well for me because it's mired in goof. Also, I would have had like with these people being like civil servants or whatever, like all these LARPers, I would have had them meet one or two of them in like a scene previous, and then they show up there, because it would be a bit more palatable than it's like, no, we're just all cops, LARPing. That's what we do because we're all off at the same time.
Flashback sequences you could have done, you know. So I don't know, but yeah, the LARPing thing was funny, but if you think about it too long. It gets a little.
It's a bit grating, yeah.
Yeah, it gets a little frustrating. But I think that's everything for that second episode. So moving on to the third one, we got episode 3, which is known as Echoes. And honestly, all jokes aside, as much as I said I love the dog, Echo is actually one of my favorite characters, if not my favorite character in this entire series. We'll talk about that in a second.
Oh, I dislike that character a lot.
Oh, well, I'll get there. In 2007, a 7-year-old Maya Lopez wants to attend an impaired school. Years later, after the blip, Lopez witnesses her father, William, killed by the vigilante Ronin. Now, of course, in current time, or 2024, Lopez interrogates Clint Barton and Kate Bishop about Ronin's return. Despite Barton's attempt to persuade her that Ronin was killed by Black Widow, Lopez is dissatisfied as she died. Black Widow. Lopez attacks Bishop, believing her to be Ronin, but in the process, Barton's hearing aid is smashed. Barton releases Bishop from Lopez's grip, who overpowers Kazi. The two steal a car, eventually escaping the tracksuit mafia, award winners that they are, by jumping into onto a moving train. The duo head back to the apartment, and Barton receives a call from his son Nathaniel. Bishop helps them communicate due to Barton losing his hearing aid. They visit an audiologist in Chinatown to get the hearing aid fixed. Afterwards, Bishop tries to convince Barton that he is a role model. They sneak into Bishop's mother Eleanor's penthouse. Jesus, that's a lot to say. Due to Bishop's suspicion of Jack Duquesne. After investigating on Eleanor's laptop, Bishop is locked out while Duquesne threatens Barton with Ronin's sword. Okay, there's a lot to unpack on this one. Jesus Christ. First off, love the hearing aid aspect. I forgot to mention that we did see that bits and pieces of that in the first one. It is weird that they chose now of all times to actually reference it, but fuck it. I mean, if you're going to reference it, now's the time to reference it. In the comics, Hawkeye is either deaf or partially deaf, which gives him sometimes a leg up in terms of his abilities as a bow and archer. I do love that they do that. Again, they do just enough with it in this show to have it be a relevance and a plot point and like a building moment for him and Kate. I love Echo, aka Maya Lopez. I just find her I know Basement's like, nope, fucker, but I find her fascinating because she's kind of she's not an anti-hero, but she's not like, you know what I mean? She's in that weird like gray area where she could literally float back and forth.
Let me refrain. I don't hate the character. I dislike the actress playing her. I'm assuming that this actress is deaf. And that's the reason they might have went with her, because all I see is WWE level acting in terms of scowl constantly. Fucking Shayna Baszler.
Well,
she is, right? She has to be.
So a couple things. One, she is deaf in real life. Yes.
Yes, I knew it.
On top of that,
she also has one leg.
She's gonna have her own show.
That is not for me.
Echo
I think that's why they spent so much time on her. Like, it's not that I hate, like, the character idea is relatively cool. I don't mind the character. The actress, I just couldn't. I had no connection with the actress. Like, the acting wasn't there for me. Like, the character I liked enough, and it does work. It works well within the concept of the show.
I will admit that it is difficult to get behind the character, because it's literally like you introduce her at the end of the second episode, then like the beginning of the third episode is, here's why you should care. So I can understand that part of it for sure. And
I guess the one thing there's just multiple like new characters that they plan to do bigger things with. Like you have. This is Kate Bishop, who's getting her own show or getting her own fucking anything. She's probably going to be the next Hawkeye, right? Mm-hmm. So there's that, and then you're introducing another character that you're going to have to give enough time to give credence to why you're making a show about them. And then you have the return, which happens later on, of other characters. So it's like, like her inclusion took like half the fucking show away, and like there wasn't so much to give.
Yeah.
Because now you're taking away from Hawkeye, and the show is named after him, and that's who they take it away from.
No, you're not wrong on that one. I'm not disagreeing with you on that either. But I mean, Heather, what did you? Are you on the same boat?
Not really. I actually I liked it. And to answer your earlier question there, Basement, yes, she is also an amputee.
I knew it.
Fucking shit.
She was born here in Wisconsin.
Oh, well,
I could tell she's hired because of those things.
I was gonna say, watch the next the next sentence.
I could tell she's hired because of those things because her acting is. Yeah.
I think her acting was all right, but then again, you're.
I mean, she never spoke.
Well, I was gonna say, it's hard because you know.
No, if she spoke, she would sound.
Well, this is also her first major role.
Yeah, it shows. It shows, in all honesty.
And Echo is coming out in 2023. It's already in post-production, according to Wikipedia.
So it's probably I believe it's going to be, if memory serves me correctly, I believe it's going to come out in the summer. If I'm not mistaken, It's probably going to be coming out in the summer of 2023.
I think she was actually more hired, not just because she actually is deaf and can use ASL and is an amputee as well. I think it's also because she is full-blooded Native American.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to say diversity hire, but it helps. Like, in all honesty,
everybody.
In all honesty, like, there's certain things that it will definitely help, especially with somebody that's like deaf.
Mm-hmm.
That is a huge leg up.
Yeah. With that, I loved the portion where she sits there and tells him, "You're too dependent on technology," and he thinks she's talking about the arrows, and it's like, no, your hearing aid.
You know what? I think it's also very difficult, like especially with somebody that doesn't have a lot of like acting credit. It's very difficult to play that role because you have to be very, like, you have to use all of your you have to be very emotive to like sell it. And her character is like, you're this badass restrained woman. So what are you really gonna get out of that?
No, that's a good point because basically you have to you have to be over expressive, right? In theory. And the one character that is not overly, it's
her.
The character's not overly expressive because that's the character design, which makes sense. So it is.
She was raised in this game.
It's a walking oxymoron, but I still found the character interesting personally. I
like don't get me wrong. I like the character. I found the character interesting. I wasn't too high on the actress.
Yeah.
She's not like for no acting credits. That's pretty impressive anyway.
Yeah.
I absolutely loved this show. Like, Disney's just fucking flopping their big ass money dick around because the actor that plays her dad is incredible. I've seen him in other things as well, and he's got like 10 seconds fucking screen time.
Jack Duquesne, the evil stepdad, did. We obviously know there's some suspicious, shady stuff. Did anybody at any point in time think he was like gonna be revealed as
soon as I fucking saw him, he's the villain.
As soon as I saw him, and they told me he was the villain, I'm like, he's not the villain. I knew he wasn't gonna be the villain at all. I almost suspected the mom to be like realistically the bad one.
I honestly expected her to be like some sort of I don't know. It was
expected her to be bad. For sure. There was a couple hints, and when they over-represent the characters being bad, they're going to try to pull the rug out. I'm like, this guy is like...
Which sucks because they're like two of the best actors in the entire fucking show. I'm like, fuck! I want them to stick around! But anyway, but moving on to episode 4, entitled Partners, Am I Right?
Which one was episode 3? There's one that... When did the... Okay, I don't want to... Is this the one with the fucking action scene? The big action scene?
Gonna have
or was the last one
specific on that one?
The big action scene with the car.
No, I think it's further down.
Yeah, I think that's
towards the end.
Not
So at this point, episode 3 ended with what's his name? Jack Duquesne like having Ronan's sword and like pointing it at Clint. Yeah, I don't think we're at the car thing yet.
I think it's episode 5.
Yeah, I think it's like either. I was gonna say it's either.
Like, why did I love this episode so much?
We'll get there. So episode 4, Partners, Am I Right? After Kate Bishop is locked out of her mother Eleanor's laptop and Jack Duquesne threatens Clint Barton with the vigilante Ronan's sword, Barton defuses the situation by Eleanor and Duquesne recognizing him as an avenger. Eleanor requests Barton to keep Bishop out of the Tracksuit Mafia investigation and later contacts an unknown person to inform them about the situation. With the help of his wife Laura, Barton secretly recovers his sword and discovers that Duquesne is the CEO of Sloan Limited, a shell corporation that launders money for the Tracksuit Mafia, while Bishop deduces that Barton was Ronin. Barton locates second-in-command Kazi I'm fucking not even, nope. And asks him to talk to, I'm not even going to try that last name, and asks him to talk to Lopez out of her vendetta against Ronin, while Bishop enlists a group of LARPers in retrieving Barton's trick arrows. Afterwards, Laura informs Barton that the watch was stolen by the Tracksuit Mafia is sending out tracking signals from an apartment building. Barton and Bishop go to retrieve it, but but find it in Lopez's apartment, where she also keeps note on Barton and his family. Lopez attacks Bishop while Barton is ambushed by a masked assailant. A fight ensues between the four combatants, with Bishop injuring Lopez, which forces her to retreat, while Barton's unmasking of his assassin is revealed to be none other than Yelena Belova, who escapes. Barton decides that he cannot keep putting Bishop in danger and breaks off their partnership. Whoo! Okay, let's take this one paragraph at a time. So, the very beginning, they're trying to like keep everything calm because it's the whole like, oh, shit's hitting the not shitting the fan, but like there's so much chaos and craziness right now, and then we need to kind of like calm a lot of these angles down until we can get things a little bit more settled. So, fine. We find out that Duquesne is the CEO of Sloan Limited, which is a shell company for the Tracksuit Mafia. It's like, even more inauspicious behavior and calamity that makes me think he could be a bad guy. But the LARPers are back. Why did they? Why? I love the LARPers, but Jesus Christ, did they outstay their welcome? I think they did.
They did, especially when you have a cop so fucking willing to evidence tamper.
Oh, fucking Jesus Christ, that's right. Yep.
There is not a cop alive that would tamper with evidence. That
MCU.
Okay, I agree. Like the fact that they just fucking immediately, we'll do it. Like,
yeah.
Okay.
You're gonna make us new costumes? Okay, yeah, we'll do it.
We'll do everything. You're gonna ruin my career? We'll do it.
Remind me a little bit later on about the watch thing, because the watch thing,
I never understood. And maybe I missed something.
Fuck it, we'll talk about it now.
What the watch is.
Well, you know what? I'll talk about it at the very end, because it's probably we'll talk about the reveal. But the watch was a great storytelling opportunity that they just literally flushed down the shitter, in my opinion. We'll talk about it when we get to it, but like they could have done something with it a little bit more, and maybe they just wanted to do it as part of the whole fucking Christmas feel good ending. Which, fine, I get that, but I felt like they put too much importance on the watch in the show. We'll get to we'll get to that.
It's a MacGuffin, but it has no actual anything.
But it's more than a MacGuffin. That's the fucked up part. It's like it's not even just like a one-off like throwaway thing. They reference it in several episodes.
No, it's literally the MacGuffin. It's something everybody's looking for, and we have no idea what it actually does. The last episode we did gloss over the best action scene that I've seen so far in Marvel movies, where they're in a car and there's a camera that's continually rotating.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah,
I thought you were talking about something completely different. Then yes, that I know
on the
what you're
bridge
about.
with all the fucking Tracksuit Mafia following them.
Oh yeah.
Like I'm like, man, this is too good for Marvel. Where it's rotating, they're going back and forth between them, and like that is incredible.
I thought you were
that's
talking
why
about
I was like
much further down.
I knew. I'm like, after you talked about it, I'm like, the third episode, I'm like, man, there's something there that really got me into the show.
That I remember watching. I'm like, what the fuck? That's surprising. Jesus Christ.
But they pull off some like good.
With that rotating camera, I sat there and said, "This part we should have watched high."
The rotating camera scene was incredible. It's those type of things that I think if Marvel injected into a lot of their properties, just every now and then do something that kind of is not the generic cut a million times action scene.
What was the show or the movie where like It was recent too. It was in like the last like 5 things that were reviewed. Were like, this is too good to be Marvel. Like why? Like this does not fit right. Like it's not like that Marvel's bad, but like this is. I think it might have been Shang-Chi, where I'm
Yeah,
like,
Shang-Chi, yeah.
this is too good. Like what? Why are we getting this good? Like I think that was the one where it just
Every now
but
and then
that
I
scene
do.
reminded me of that, where it's like this is fucking amazing.
Because with Shang-Chi, we figured out they got actors who could actually do martial arts and fucking act at the same time.
And we also
Or
got
they didn't fucking chop the fucking thing to death in the editing room where you don't even really know what's happening. Hey, cool scene. He punches a guy. We have to see it from 8 angles. Like, what?
plus we also got Ben Kingsley, so there's that too. But anyway,
No, that action scene, that was the one with the Pym arrow too that becomes massive, right?
yes,
Yeah.
I forgot about that. That was fucking great.
Yeah, her fucking expression though with the trick arrows.
But of course, the big one is Yelena is in the house. We've got Natasha's sister, which, you know, again, we didn't really know much going into the show. We saw like bits and pieces of it, so this was a nice, pleasant surprise. And I'll be honest, my interest took a massive spike as soon as she was in there. Remembering from watching this on a week-to-week basis, when she showed up, I'm like, oh, this is going to be great. This is going to be fantastic now, because now you have it's another level of chaos. But now you have the whole idea of she's hunting, you know, from what we saw obviously from the Black Widow movie, she's hunting down Hawkeye because in her mind Hawkeye killed her sister. So now it's just another level of like chaos and calamity with it that just I'm like, oh, this is going to be good now.
No, but it's also the fact that somebody hired her specifically to hunt them down as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Adding her acting, she was one of my favorite characters in the Black Widow movie. All of that, when I saw her, I'm like, oh, this is now it's up another. That was just me personally. I don't know about you guys.
That scene right there is what made JP stop playing football.
For me, this is where, like, yes, I don't get me wrong. I think this is like the right show to have her featured in, and for her to show up, and it all like her showing up as a like fucking what's her face Echo just walks out. She just leaves through the top door. That's
I would too if I saw a fucking Black Widow. Peace out, bitches.
This is where I really would have preferred not having her at all. Echo at all.
Oh, Echo, yeah.
Like I honestly think you could take her out of this show and still make the show, arguably for me, better. I get they want to introduce her, but I would. There's a couple things I would have done. I would have given some more people, the main man at the end, a bit more screen time and reduced some other people out of existence.
The thing with Echo is that she filled in a temporary void of a. This is
mini boss.
Yeah, I was gonna say there's not gonna be any great ways for me to say this.
It's not. You could literally take her out and have fucking Black Widow, the new one, whatever, attacking them throughout the show.
They wanted to have. You really want the fucking tracksuit mafia to be shown as opposing threat, like?
No, I don't want them either. They can go with her.
No, I'm just. My point is that she represented a section of this like gang warfare that was going on. And that's the way I interpreted it. And then when Yelena came in, it's like, oh, she's part of this side now. And then we'll get to that other character, which we'll get into in a second, which I can't wait to talk about. But her showing up for me was like, not only in terms of like the story of like, you know, being hired to go after Hawkeye or going after Hawkeye, but I was very personally interested in seeing her and Kate Bishop interact. I thought those two would have so much fun, even before what we end up seeing in the last 2 episodes, because I'm like, they're very similar yet they're not, but they are, and so I'm like, that's one of the rare instances where it's like 2 similar characters with very different backstories and very, very different backgrounds.
As Kate Bishop is more innocent, whereas Alina's more battle weary.
But sometimes one's more stupid than the other, depending on the subject. I was like that. There's some very interesting foil dynamics that you can create there, But moving on to episode 5, because we're blowing through this thing so fucking quick, we got Ronin, because we're running out of episode titles. In 2018, Yelena Belova and Black Widow agent Sonya subdue a woman named Anna in her house who had been helping deprogram Black Widows after being freed from General Dreykov in 2016. Belova soon becomes a victim of the blip and reemerges in 2023, hoping to talk with Natasha Romanoff, but eventually learns about her depth. Now, before I get any further, I thought that was fucking clever the way they did that in the intro of that episode, where it catches not only everybody up to speed, but I'm telling you guys, and I'm screaming this to the end of the mountaintop here, there is so much story that you can take from the blip that I feel like Marvel fucking hasn't really done as much. Or there's so much more they can do as far as like ripple effects or ramifications from the blip, even though we got everybody pretty much back. And
It's
this
relatively
is one yes!
untapped. Yeah, it's relatively untapped. I mean, they've done a couple things.
Taste of that with WandaVision too.
There are ramifications from it, right? But my point is that I feel like it's such a significant thing that there could be so many other aspects of it that they haven't really fully fleshed. I can't even think of all of them. But there are so many.
It's like a creative fucking land. Like it's a creative gold mine that they've only extracted a couple pieces of gold from.
Right. Like I would think personally, and this is me going off on my fucking tangent here, but personally I would think that the blip would be at the very least a catalyst to start the next saga, or something to be part of the catalyst of the launch to the multiverse saga, which is what we're in now. Right. And there's a couple of things that that's why I love what they did with Falcon and Winter Soldier. I thought that was fucking relatively clever. It was kind of contained, but okay. WandaVision touched on it. This one obviously touched on it. Black Widow touched on it because that happened before that. But the point is that the idea of having fucking half of existence gone and then reemerge. I mean, even Eternals did something with it. But
yeah.
Like, there's a lot of like unknown like ripple effects and ramifications that I don't think anybody would you don't like stop and think like, oh shit, that would really fuck things up big time if this were to really happen. Like, resources would be scarce, this would happen, blah blah blah. Like, show more of that. Like, I kind of want to.
My thing is, there's several things that touched on it, but nothing that's used it in its entirety as a driving force. I would love to see a show use it as a driving force for the creation of the villain of the show. Not like a group of villains like Falcon and Winter Soldier did, but more like an actual villain.
Like a long-term major arcing
villain,
as opposed to like an episode of the day kind of. I
basically being a byproduct of, and like blaming superheroes for essentially causing it.
Someone said
because they wouldn't know otherwise, right? Like, I mean, you kind of attach, Thanos came to Earth, but who like instigated? And if somebody like lost everything.
Someone did say that it would be, and God forbid I've gone through enough fucking fan fiction in the last couple of years since switching my name over to Mr. Marvel. But one that I read that I didn't read the whole thing, but I started to read it, and it was, I really wish I wrote the guy's name down because it was fucking genius. He said that the blip would be the catalyst for Dr. Doom.
Yeah.
His rule over Latveria. I was like, fuck, that is
so many good options.
Fucking clever, and I love everything about that. So my point is just that I love the entrance. I love the start of this episode here for Hawkeye, because it again shows another ripple and aspect of like how this massive fucking thing that happened to the entire universe does have longer lasting effects than people. It's not like we just went, hey, we're back.
It'd also be nice to see a character like you take Hawkeye, for instance, and his reemergence of his family. You still have 5 years of something that could just change you on a level that you're forever different. Your family comes back and you're a completely different person, but you're not going to switch over the light and be like, hey, whatever, and then you lose them again. And that would be a great like fucking villain story. Like, you lose your family and then lose them again when they come back.
And that's why I love that they try to at least, I mean, I know they didn't do it as much as I would like to, but that's why at least I appreciate them trying to flesh out a little bit of the Ronin, like, dichotomy that Clint had with the character, because, yeah, fucking fucking slaughtered people for 5 years.
Yeah.
I remember saying when we were watching, I think it was Endgame, and I'm
Yep.
like, man, this is what I would like to see a show dedicated to this character for something. I mean, we got a bit of it. Yeah. Marvel does that though. They always like give me a little bit of what I really want, and then it's like the side of a meal, where the main course is a big pile of shit, and I eat it up.
They had so many options with everything that's happened from Endgame to this point, and for them to only give us a little flash of it with WandaVision, and then a little taste here, and then a little spark there.
It's
Sorely
tough.
underused.
It's
Yeah.
tough, and the problem is that, like, and I've said this before, I'll say this again. It's the plus and the minus of the MCU. The plus is that you have this giant narrative where you can explore and have fun with it, but at the same time, depending on who or what you're writing, you have to follow the rules or the
The source.
pre-established stories or rules or whatever have you from other franchises. I mean, Jesus Christ, we're now on phase 4, and this is there were 6 movies, then 12, then another 11, so that is 23 from the first 3 phases, and now we're in, like, you know, God forbid, you know what I mean? Like, there's so much content you have to keep track of it. It's like, Jesus Christ. So it's kind of
I'm holding out hope for Daredevil to dip into this idea a lot more, being more street level and being a lawyer. It would be nice to see him deal with like departures and returns and how you handle that on like a law base as being one of the things. And you could easily fuse in a villain that was made by the Blip in that show. It would work.
Yeah. No, I mean, there's still a chance that we could get some more things in future projects, but just personally speaking, I wish there was just a little more substance. But
Unless they're holding out for one of the new Avenger movies. Which
I am 1000% with Conor when he said use it for Punisher. That would be right at home. That's the best place to use it, to be honest.
I just think it writes itself.
Yeah, Punisher loses his family. Family comes back, loses family again.
Well, because the joke that I was actually, the reason this popped in my head, just to go off on a bit of a real fast tangent before we get on this, was I was kind of thinking in my head, like, okay, Punisher, obviously he loses his family because of mob ties or his role as a police officer. You know, there's different variations, but generally speaking, that's where it kind of cruxes in. And I said, you know, what would be really fucked up would be as if he loses his family, and then it's almost like a comedic, like a tragic situation where it's like his family gets because remember, we've seen people when they get blipped back, they're blipped back to where they were blipped from. So if you're walking in the middle of the street and you are blipped away and then you blip back, you're going to blip back to the middle of the street. So I said, imagine if the fucking family blips back in the middle of the street just to get fucking ran over again.
No, I don't like that idea.
No, but that's
like Betty Hill music or whatever. Yeah. On the side of the road cry. I honestly, what I would do is I'd have.
No, but my point is that
I'd have Punisher fucking lose his family in the blip, and then get like absorbed into his job, and then go undercover, like, you know, just putting it all on the line, and then all of the things he did because he was lost during the blip would lead to when his family comes back.
Right. Yeah. My point was that he loses the family, but then when they come back, he doesn't know it, or like he finds out after the fact, after they've been like killed a second time.
All he hears is time music in the background, like really low. It's like, oh god.
No.
Yeah.
No, but that's where the idea came from, is like this dark comedy thing, but like the idea of like, well, what if he did lose his family from the blip, they came back and they died a second time for, you know, whatever reason. We don't even find out what the second reason is. It's like, actually, that'd be even more fucking tragic. Imagine he's like, did you lose your family during the blip? Yep. And then I got them back and I lost them all over again. It's like, that's even more fucking twisted.
Well, I would follow the Punisher lore of him like losing them again and then getting shot a bunch of times. But yeah, we're not talking Punisher. We're talking we're talking Hawkeye.
We should probably rewatch the 2000. I still love the 2004 one with Thomas Jane. But anyway,
Yeah.
so in 2024, Kate Bishop informs her mother Eleanor about her fiance Jack Duquesne's shell corporation, which leads to his arrest. Bishop finds Yelena Belova waiting for her in an apartment where she learns that Belova was sent to New York City to kill Clint Barton. After recovering. And there's a lot of consonants here. After recovering in Grill's apartment, Barton goes to a memorial of the Avengers, apologizing to Romanoff, one of my favorite scenes in the whole show. He puts on the Ronin suit and challenges Maya Lopez to a fight, trying to convince her to stop her vendetta against him and pursuing his family. He is rescued by Kate Bishop, while Lopez suspects that Kazi knows more information about the Bishop Christmas party event. The next day, Belova informs Bishop that she was hired by Eleanor to kill Barton, and that Eleanor is working with Lopez's uncle, whom Barton identifies none other as Wilson Fisk, a.k.a. the Kingpin. First off, I remember when Heather messaged me when she was watching this, and she's like, "Holy shit!" I'm like, "Yeah, I know what part you're at now." So I love Yelena's introduction. I love the setup, like I mentioned before, that we just went off on a fucking 20-minute tangent on. I love the conflict here. I love the scene with him just talking to the plaque of the original 6 Avengers. I thought that was a nice somber, it was a perfect, to me it was a relatively perfect slow down moment and kind of let's take this all in. I do like that they also said oh, Kazi, what's his face, might know a little bit more about what's going on than not. And then the big reveal of fucking Wilson Fisk. I remember the internet going fucking berserk because remember, we hadn't seen at this point in time none of the other Netflix properties or any of the other Marvel Netflix series had been rumored, touched, addressed. This was the first big one that we've got because obviously there's another character that shows up in the next project we're going to talk about. But nobody knew that until it happened. This was the first major, oh, they're bringing him in. So, yeah, just when you thought the series was gonna fucking slow down, huh?
And can I just say, Vincent D'Onofrio is the perfect Kingpin.
Yeah, he's very, very
taken
good.
from the Daredevil Netflix series, which is probably leagues better than anything fucking Disney has done so far. I'm just saying. But yeah, no, perfect casting.
I just found out recently too that Vincent D'Onofrio is actually going to be not too far from me, about one state over, for a comic convention that I might have to go crash the party at. But we'll see how it goes. But oh my god, I love you, and I was arrested. So this was kind of a little bit of ADHD overload for me. I mean, granted, again, it's episode 5 going into the big one. That being said, I think that they did I think this was kind of like the calm before the storm of we have just everything set up right where we wanted for everything to fucking hit the fan at the next episode. But yeah, the Wilson Fisk ending was that made my jaw hit the floor.
I kind of wish this happened an episode earlier. I would just like more screen time with Wilson Fisk, and I also felt like the Jack being bad or being good or being whatever, it went on for too long. To the point where I just didn't give a flying shit. You have 6 episodes. I would have loved to see. For me, it would have been a bit more gratifying to see him especially with what happens in the next episode. You gotta build having a villain behind closed curtains forever is okay, but you need at least more time to there's a fight that happens next episode, and I okay. I needed some sort of interaction, right? I don't know. I mean, yeah, it's cool to mention him, and it was kind of they did lead up to it. I think they showed cufflinks or something at some point in time.
Yes.
And I was kind of okay, yeah, you kind of get the. Oh, the big guy. You kind of you kind of make the link, but it's nice for them to go in that direction. I thought this was a good episode too. Honestly, the 3rd and 4th episode of the show are probably my favorite.
I gotta say, I need to try macaroni and cheese and fucking sriracha now.
Oh, it's so good. Hot sauce and mac and cheese is fucking incredible.
I'm trying to remember what the fuck I was gonna say now. I think that the one of the biggest flaws of the show is the too many characters and too many introductions and too much craziness going on at one point in time, which I'm agreeing with on Basement. That being said, though, you know, when there was rumors that things were going to be integrated from the Netflix series and stuff, I was not expecting Wilson Fisk, and I think that he is a great character to use for. Not, I mean, obviously we saw his use in fucking the Netflix series with Daredevil and Punisher. So to not only get the same actor and you know, even if they're gonna completely like, oh, none of the Netflix shit fucking happened, I don't give a shit. You've got a fantastic actor on a fantastic role that you know is gonna knock it out of the park. Same thing with Charlie Cox with
It's keep the casting. Honestly,
it's fuck it.
You'd actually fucking enrage the fan base with a recast if they didn't hit it out of the park immediately. And that's
so. When I saw that, I'm like, they know what the fuck they're doing. They were good, and you know, now knowing that both obviously Charlie Cox and Vincent D'Onofrio are coming back for Daredevil Born Again, which they have now officially confirmed is not going to be. It's going to be it's brand new. It's not going to tie.
I'm kind of liking that.
I am
to
too.
be honest, because I think if it tied into what Netflix did, it would be hated. No, I think it would be hated by a lot of people because
they would attempt to undo or at the very least
they're gonna Marvelize it.
They would, I was gonna say it would come across like they're trying to undo everything from it. Yeah, I agree with you. I think that it's just better to just kind of like let's introduce these characters in other mediums and then we'll build from there. I think
this also means to me like I'm curious to see where they start with that character because the Netflix show did have like a Daredevil. The Netflix show did give like the origin, and everything, and then like the working up to the costume. He's probably going to be 100% Daredevil when we meet him, which I kind of like. I don't know. I feel like a lot of the new age of Marvel kind of is like we're not going to do origin stories for pretty much anybody. Extended origin stories, like look at Spider-Man one with Tobey Maguire, that type of thing. Yeah. They're not going to go back down that. It's more like here's a flashback for 10 seconds, and now you have all the powers in the world. Go at them.
So I mean, that's fine by me because I think it depends on the character. Like, and we'll talk about this more when we get to Moon Knight.
This is where I would have liked to see for Kate Bishop a bit more. I actually think this show could benefit from being longer. Like, you have shows, other Marvel shows that are like fucking 10, 12 episodes, like longer than they need to be. The show that is jam-packed with certain characters that you have to like basically show her entire youth in like a drawing.
Like, yeah, I know what you're saying.
Don't get me wrong, I kind of like the drawing thing, but like I feel
it depends for me. Like, because I think one of the things that they might be building towards, they haven't confirmed this yet, is a Young Avengers. We've gotten enough characters now at this point where there are enough of these younger characters between the introduction of
who are they? Who would they be?
The new Falcon, which is that buddy, the sergeant buddy that.
Oh God, he's a actor.
Yep. Kate Bishop, America Chavez. I'd have to think of Miss Marvel. There's
Yelena, I guess.
Well, no, Yelena's in the Thunderbolts, but the point is that they're starting to build up this young roster of younger Ironheart, Riri Williams. They're starting to build up a roster of young Avengers so that there's opportunity. So, the reason I bring that up,
potentially terrible movie.
Amazing. We're being watched.
A potentially terrible movie.
No, my point is that like if I see what you're saying about like the show should be longer to flesh out these characters.
Well, if they're gonna include fucking that many.
Well,
either remove some of them and keep the 6 episodes, or give me a bit more.
But But Heather, you still on the high of seeing Vincent D'Onofrio as the Kingpin from episode 5? Like I said, I love when she's on Twitter. She's like, I'm almost done. I'm like, cool, and I'm literally waiting for her to hit that moment. She's like, fucking Kingpin. I'm like, I know what episode you're on.
Yeah, then as soon as they showed the security picture of him, it's just like,
Yep. Good shit. So that being said, we move into the final episode 6, which is, so this is Christmas, which, by the way, I fucking love. Out of all the episode names, that's my favorite one. Clint Barton and Kate Bishop watch a recording of her mother, Eleanor Bishop, and crime lord Wilson Fisk breaking off their partnership, learning that Eleanor killed her fiancé, Jack Duquesne's uncle, Armand, and framed him for the Shell Corporation Sloan Limited. She was the bitch. On Christmas Eve, Barton and Bishop attend Eleanor's holiday party, where Bishop confronts her mother and learns her father owed money to Fisk, which led Eleanor to working with him. Kazi attempts to assassinate Eleanor on Fisk's order, but targets Barton instead. Barton then enlists help from Grills, the LARPers, and Duquesne to evacuate the party before rejoining Bishop to defeat the Tracksuit Mafia. They can never get their moment. The fucking... I don't give a shit what show it is. I'm going to root for the Tracksuit Mafia again next time I see them. After Maya Lopez kills Kazi, Bishop attempts to look for Eleanor while Barton is confronted by Yelena Belova, who demands the truth of her Natasha's death. They fight, but he eventually reminds her of his close friendship with Romanoff and her sacrifice to save the universe. Belova decides to walk away after sparing him. I'll get to that. Elsewhere, Fisk tries to stop Eleanor from escaping, but Bishop arrives and incapacitates him with Barton's trick arrows. Eleanor is then arrested by the police for Armand's murder, while Fisk escapes but is eventually confronted by Lopez. The next day, Barton returns to his family with Bishop, returns the watch to Laura, and burns the Ronin suit. Merry Christmas to all, and to all, shut the fuck up. There's a few things on this ending that I do not like.
Yeah. First of all, I don't understand how she hired Yelena, right? She has the reach to hire that level of.
Okay, so
is the head of the security department.
It's kind of tricky because they don't really go into a lot of details of it, because obviously what we saw was that Valentina, wow, Elaine, seemed like that she hired her, or she was pointing her in the right direction. Take your pick as far as what the actual reasoning behind it is, but I think one way or the other, it was like Yelena found. I don't know, but the point is that it's somewhere.
I
in
would
that
have just
circle.
liked her to be coming after him.
I
The
agree
hiring
with you on
thing
that.
is a bit like, okay, now we have to jump through hoops to get to where the actual story. Like she doesn't need. She already has a purpose for being there.
I was just she doesn't need the mom.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
She has a purpose for being there,
right
so it's
there
kind of
with you
like
on
adding shit. Well, okay, that's just the beginning, because this final episode is problematic on many levels for me.
The two biggest frustrations, and one of them I had to go deep digging into finding this out. The two biggest frustrations to me was Yelena just lets Clint go. And it's not the fact that she lets him go. It's the fact that she's like, oh, he fucking whistled, I cried, I'm out of here.
It's very like plot convenience.
But it's like the most
Martha.
Oh my, yeah,
It's
that's
Martha.
what it felt like. But like,
Yeah.
I get why she would let him go. I understand their bond. Like, I actually was really looking forward to that conflict. I was really looking forward to seeing how that was going to get resolved, or semi-resolved, or not really get any resolution, or like, whatever. And it just felt very like, I have to go. My planet needs me.
I would have preferred if she like beat the shit out of him and he just kept saying the same thing until she has to accept the fact that what he's saying is true, no matter how much she hits him.
Oh, okay.
Instead of being like, Martha. Okay, my planet needs me.
That to me was the biggest frustration out of the entire episode. Everything else.
I had a couple.
Well, the last thing I was just gonna say was
Heather's favorite scene.
What?
Heather's favorite scene.
Which one?
I know which one it is.
We'll get to it. I'll let you guys.
Is it Fisk?
Yes.
Well, but it's also the fucking LARPers.
Oh yeah.
Well, okay. Wilson Fisk is not dead.
No.
Right. I had to dig very hard to find out what exactly happened to him. And so, because we watched the episode, like, he's dead. She fucking killed him. No. We don't.
Hit the bullet.
He has, like, this high, obviously, one of Kingpin's things is he has a high tolerance for pain. He's very durable. Even though we haven't got, like, an official confirmation from it, but he is on the lam, I believe. I don't think he's been arrested. He hasn't been detained. He escaped somehow from her That pissed me off because it just, like, he's just standing there with his hands up, and then it's just like you hear a gunfire, right, or something.
Yeah. I hated the ending because it's like, and now to tease you for something that we're never going to deliver on. It's like, honestly, I feel like if we see the scene again, it'll be her shooting the ground or shooting him in the chest where he has that Kevlar fucking bodysuit.
Okay, but like, fuck.
I just think it's such a fucking floppy dick ending for that. I don't like it.
Those are my two biggest gripes of it. Was that, and then the fucking Neil Lane, just like, I'm out.
There's a lot of gripes.
Everything else I could pretty much stomach.
The
But
LARP,
I can tell Heather's ready to let go. So I'll let.
I'm 100% on the other side. I feel.
In New York City, you have LARPers who are also fucking police officers.
Okay. Yep. I see where this is going.
And
what did they decide to be in a moment of crisis?
you fucking have them trying to direct people very lackadaisically out of a chaotic shooting fiasco.
Mm-hmm.
And they're just sitting there, this way, people, this way. You know what? They're never gonna listen to us. They don't care. They're too scared. Put your fucking badge on your fucking chest. They'll listen then.
No, dress up like Vikings.
With the
It's
police
time,
badge.
guys. It's time. They're not gonna listen to us any other way.
I completely forgot about that.
It's so fucking stupid. It's
They're off to
it took me
the holidays.
completely out of like any realism of the show. It was so dumb.
Oh, there's Jacob coming in with this like.
No,
Go
put on
ahead.
your Viking outfit. But like, it's so stupid. Instead of like, oh, we should put on our police gear, they put on their Viking fucking shit and they start beating people's ass.
Yeah.
It's like, okay.
It worked for Thor.
And then they turn into, what about this guy? Kate Bishop looking at Declan and sword fighting like a fucking kid at a birthday party.
Honestly, every time I saw him there, I was thinking of dun 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 dun. Dun. Pirates of the Caribbean with the like also the clown shit that was going on. I'm like, this is like it's when the show just takes. We're gonna be the goofiest fucking thing in the world. That like killed me 100%. And oh god, Heather, you want to talk about the greatness of the Kingpin fight? Because I fucking hated that.
Before I get to that, during half of this entire engagement going on, where's Clint Barton? Hanging out in the fucking Rockefeller tree having a conversation with a fucking owl.
Oh, why was the owl there? To this day, I don't understand what that whole thing was.
It was just an owl. There's a lot of owls in New York City.
Yeah.
He was just in the tree hanging out, and Clint's sitting there having a conversation with him. Motherfucker, you scaled down a goddamn skyscraper to get away from fucking aliens.
I
You
wish
can't
the owl
climb
ripped his
down a
face
fucking
off.
tree? But now,
That whole thing was dumb as shit.
now moving on to Fisk versus tiny little gymnastic bitch Kate Bishop.
Oh yeah, the
I
hits.
Didn't mind the fight so much, but
She's dead immediately.
okay.
The amount of times he slammed her not only on the ground, but into the shelves and into a fucking plate glass window. How the fuck is she surviving all this?
This is like,
Fighting.
I mean, this is like where there needs to be a line drawn for, is she superpowered or not? You have to make the distinction because eventually nothing matters when everybody's portrayed as invulnerable.
Well, the only thing I will say to that is that, okay, I'm not disagreeing with anything you guys are saying. However, this is also Fisk's technically his first introduction in the MCU. You kind of have to make him look somewhat threatening in some way, shape, or form.
Well, he
I'm
he
not
gets
saying
beaten
they
by a
did it the
little
right
girl.
way. I'm not saying that it was executed correctly. I'm just saying is that I get why they did that bigger picture, but yeah, it's.
He gets beaten by a little girl, and somehow the thing that I like picked up on immediately that I fucking hated. How did the mom hit him with a car?
In Drive.
No, it's so terrible because I've rewatched the scene a couple times of how terrible it is. He literally leaves her unconscious in the car, takes 3 steps, and then her car, without any sound of it starting or driving, comes barreling at him at 100 miles per hour from the side that it wasn't even parked at.
She had the silencer on the car.
It's so dumb. Oh my god, it was so dumb.
It's fucking Christmas. Will you let it go?
No, like the last episode of the show is fucking stupid, honestly.
No, I'm not disagreeing with you. That there's a lot of like. To be very honest with you, when I saw Fisk show up at the end of episode 5, or the reference to Fisk at the end of episode 5, I got scared because we already were just talking about how they just introduced a shit ton of new characters, and it's like, fuck. You've got 1 episode left to wrap up everything, and then you're going to add Fisk to the pile? It's like, fucking shit, man. That being said,
build up to her fighting Fisk. There's nothing there.
Yeah.
Like, I didn't care at all.
But this is the other thing I was going to say, too. The watch.
Yes.
Fucking watch. Okay. So, in the comics, and I hate saying that because I know I'm trying to do these movies without trying to do a lot of referential stuff, but in the comics, Hawkeye's wife is I'm trying to remember the name of the character, but it's another Marvel superhero that has the same idea.
Isn't she supposed to be Mockingbird?
I was about to say, I was gonna say it's either I knew it was either Mockingbird or something else. Yeah, Laura Barton is Mockingbird, who is a former S.H.I.E.L.D. agent. That this was a reference to. That's it. that's the
and like
end.
they don't even
It was
actually.
a Men's Watch, wasn't it?
Yes, and the thing that pisses me off the most is they ended with it being like, "Take care of your shit." Okay, at least tell people what the watch like this. They overturned fucking New York City for this piece of shit.
The implication is that they didn't want her to be traced to being a former S.H.I.E.L.D. agent, or at least that's what it was implied. That somehow them getting a hold of the watch would connect her to it basically would blow her cover as not being a S.H.I.E.L.D. agent anymore, whatever the fuck it is. Which
it doesn't make any fucking sense.
It does not make any sense, and that's what's infuriating.
If I found a watch, I wouldn't know who its owner is, especially if it's a male's watch.
I know, that's the part that pisses me off. It's like your explanation's weak, your setup's weak, your execution's weak. Like it's all you could have literally just not done this whatsoever, and just done like be home in time for Christmas for the kids. Period. You didn't need the watch shit. So just
the watch, and that was from episode 1 set up. Like the show is bloated with unnecessary things and things that they should explain. They don't, especially like the watch. And the people. Like I think honestly, like I would have cared more about Kate Bishop versus Fisk if there was any interaction ever. Oh, he's pulling the strings behind the scene. Like yeah, he's pulling the strings behind the scene, but her mom makes all the bad decisions. Yeah. It should have been her mom versus her. But no, her mom has to be a good guy, and she drives a car out of nowhere in 2 seconds. I mean, I guess the ice hockey, ice hockey rink or whatever they fight in at the end. That's kind of cool.
Ice skating rink where everybody's allowed to skate.
I like that. I like that that scene, but the rest of the finale was just like, bleh. And it worries me the way that they used Fisk.
Yeah,
because
Well,
and at this point in time, when I watched it, because it just came out recently, or I at least heard about it recently, that they're not going to follow the Daredevil, like it's not going to be a continuation.
correct. Yes.
At this point, I'm thinking it's a continuation. I'm like, oh god.
No, Charlie Cox made it very clear, and Feige cleared it up, that Daredevil Born Again is going to be a brand new telling of Daredevil. They're obviously going to use references from other MCU projects where we've seen Vincent D'Onofrio and Charlie Cox for potential setup, and who knows, we'll probably get more actually in a couple days with She-Hulk. But they're not following the Netflix series, which I think that's a smart move for so many different reasons. Because that way they won't piss as many people off. But anyway, but that does it for Hawkeye. That wraps up Hawkeye in a nice little cutesy little bow for the most part. So I'm going to throw it to Heather first. Overall thoughts on Hawkeye, plus minuses, and what would you rate Hawkeye out of 10?
The minuses right away. The fucking LARPing group that is also New York City's finest. Come on.
That's why you lose, right?
The plus is they, in my opinion, they did okay with the story. It's the continuing end chapter for Hawkeye, and then passing on the mantle of Hawkeye to Kate Bishop, essentially.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, I was okay with it, because we got him to the point of getting his closure for what happened with Natasha.
Right, yep.
And then we also got him accepting somebody new into the family.
Mm-hmm.
Continuing on his mentor's lessons. Not only just to him, but to his wife, and now to Kate Bishop.
Mm-hmm.
Which, that's what they should have fucking done with the watch. Said it was their mentors, but anyway. Because, he was a fucking guy,
Yeah,
but...
that makes sense.
At the end of the day, this started out being a 7 for me. But then what they did to Fisk, and just... after that, it's down to a 6.5 for me.
All right, I think that's fair enough. All right. Basement.
I mean,
calm down.
No, it does more good than it does bad. The show does. In all honesty, I would have changed so much about this show. There's too many people in it. They try to do too much with the limited runtime. One of the biggest gripes I have is Clint Barton is not the main character again, in favor of putting someone else forward. And the whole time I'm thinking while watching this, since we're doing this review of all the Marvel stuff, I'm thinking they're setting up a bunch of new heroes. Man, who's gonna be the straight man, or who's gonna be the serious character, since they're all fucking jokesters?
Wong.
Oh God, he's a
Wong's
jokester
amazing.
too. He's a jokester. They're all jokesters.
I didn't say that he wasn't. I'm just saying he's gonna be the.
I mean, while watching this, I'm like, it doesn't really bode well for the future of Marvel when they literally have made. I'm gonna say Yelena and Kate Bishop are almost the same fucking character.
They are dangerously close.
I like their dynamic together, but it could be super grating if it was to be a feature-length film. So I mean, I don't really know where they're going in terms of character development, because but the show itself had some out of the 6 episodes, 3 I felt were very good, or good enough. Hated what they did with Wilson Fisk. I hated everything to do with her whole family dynamic. It was terrible. It was boring as shit. Honestly, it was so boring. The Jack and her mom thing, I was like, ugh, kill me, fucking hell. And then Echo, they introduce her, they have her story play out, and then in the end she shoots Wilson Fisk. It's like, okay. I mean, this seemed like a fucking an extended teaser for what's to come. And they're kind of like Marvel has gotten to this. Well, this is fucking Marvel now. Like, you're gonna watch this movie, but what the movie is really about is what you're gonna watch next. What am I gonna watch next? Well, it's gonna be about something that's coming next after that. It's like, man,
A deaf
just
girl
tell a
versus a
story
blind guy.
in and of itself. Yeah, inclusion.
So out of 10, what would you rate it?
Out of 10 on Hawkeye, I'm with Heather. I think 6.5.
I am going to rate this thing a 9.8. No, I'm right there with you guys, 6.5. Like I said at the beginning, when I heard that Marvel was doing these Disney Plus shows to complement the movies, this tone is exactly what I thought every show on paper should be. I will admit that Hawkeye exceeded my expectations. I'll be very honest with you. I thought that, you know, and mind you, I loved Falcon and Winter Soldier. Thought Loki was awesome. I thought WandaVision was solid. What If? But I, for the most part, genuinely enjoyed the Disney Plus shows, but I had my expectations set relatively low for Hawkeye because I didn't think they were going to do much with it as far as a bigger story. I figured this was like, do you guys think this is the last time we're going to see, you know, maybe outside of Secret Wars, Jenner as Hawkeye? Do you think this is the last time we're going to see Clint Barton? Do you think he's done after this?
Yes.
Yeah, I think so too. I mean, no, I think it's a good way for him to go out. I mean, we can obviously
nothing
see him in
else to
Secret
really
War, but
do with him. I mean, he could be like a figure, like you could have him if Kate Bishop goes on and does a show or whatever. You could have him in the very beginning as being like, "Oh, your training is complete," because he's still like.
Because we own Star Wars too.
Yeah, but other than that, I don't see anything happening with this guy because his story is told. There's no need.
I agree with you on that one. So my point though is that, like, you know, I can't remember what my point was now. Jesus Christ. No, it kind of fit the mold as far as what I thought it was gonna be, and I set my expectations low because outside of him passing the mantle to Kate, I really wasn't expecting a whole lot from this show, and not that I was expecting it to suck, but I just wasn't expecting major things out of it. And while in the bigger scope of the MCU, not really a whole lot happened. I mean, we did see the introduction of Wilson Fisk and Echo and a couple of other characters. There were things that I was not expecting that I was very happy to see. Fisk, even though his character was kind of on the 6th episode, but specifically Yelena being involved was pretty fun too. And Echo, I still love the character. I'm still intrigued enough to see where the series is going to go, what they do in Phase 5. So that's why I gave it a little bit of a higher rating, like the 6.5. I would maybe even go 7, just because I put my expectations relatively low because I wasn't expecting much from this. Again, Christmas Disney Plus Marvel show. You're thinking it's going to be like Guardians of the Galaxy holiday special. But there was enough good acting. There's enough good acting, good storytelling. Not saying it was great, but there was enough of those elements that helped me carry enough through it to want to see how it was all going to end. So, yeah, I'd say with you guys 6.5, 7 in my opinion.
I'm telling you, if you take away Christmas from it, for me, it would have dropped a whole point.
I agree.
It's just keeping it in that short time frame of just a matter of a few weeks.
I feel like the Christmas aspect of it allowed some of the goofiness to kind of work for me.
Yes.
If it wasn't like, and like you take that away, and then this movie is, the show is way too goofy.
How dare you call this a movie? No, you're not wrong.
Way
though.
Too goofy. But yeah, it wasn't the best they've done, but it definitely wasn't the worst.
Oh, don't worry. We got more holiday treats coming up in just a little bit. But that's going to do it for Hawkeye on this edition of the Marvel Roundtable. I want to thank everybody for tuning in and joining us, whether here on the YouTube channel, youtube.com/HornyGoat, or on the podcast network, where you can listen to us on your favorite podcasting platforms. Heather, Basement, I want to thank you guys for tuning in and coming in for another fun Marvel Roundtable. Is there any last-minute tidbits you guys wanted to say before we wrap up this edition?
Fuck the Tracksuit Mafia.
Fuck you. They are fantastic.
They're terrible.
You say that until they start knocking on your
bro.
door. They're not going to knock on your door because they're going to get the wrong address.
Yeah.
That's it.
They're already all dead.
So that's going to do it for Hawkeye. We are getting, like I said, dangerously close to catching up with everything with the MCU. And man, next time on the Marvel Roundtable, I have a suspicion that we are going to be talking for a long time in deep conversation about the next installment, which a lot of people argue is one of, if not the best, live-action Spider-Man movies ever in existence, as we see Tom Holland once again take the mantle of everyone's favorite web-slinging hero as he encounters the multiversal craziness and villains from other franchises as we take a look at Spider-Man No Way Home.
Does he get home?